Hey guys, so first of all, I want to apologize if you hear any vroom sounds during this recording. I'm recording this on my phone, and and the reason you'll hear those noises is because those are going to be like emails, text messages, notifications, you name it. But I wanted to come on here because earlier today I was listening to a video that Kneon of Clownfish TV put up, where he was talking about Diamond Comics, Diamond Select's situation financially, where they're filing for bankruptcy. I think Chapter 11 bankruptcy or something like that. And, he also mentioned in there the situation with IDW Comics and how IDW Comics, who, believe it or not, was not listed in the list of comic book publishers that Diamond owes money to, that IDW could be on its last legs. IDW Comics, ID Comics, if you will, could be on its last legs. And look, Kneon has worked for IDW, ID Comics in the past, so has Geeky. And they know a little bit more about the ins and outs of the comic book industry and, basically how much you get paid, for doing works and everything, a single page, a book, whatever. And so they have pretty much more say in what's going on, more of an opinion on what's going on than people like me. But when I look at, people saying that IDW, ID Comics is, basically on death's door, I find that hard to believe because, look, I get certain companies have financial problems. But ID Comics, IDW Comics, they have different divisions, don't they? So who's to say the divisions that they have aren't the ones that are in financial trouble and people are just mistaking it to be more along the lines of it's the entire company? Because we don't know. We don't know whether or not it's the entire company or it's just a certain division for that company that, pretty much is in financial trouble and people are making more of a, I guess you could say, I wouldn't say an excuse, but more of a exaggerated, problem out of it than what it already is. Now, I say this because people have to realize that at one point, Archie Comics, when they had both the Sonic license and I think within the last year the TMNT license, and then throughout the history of having the Sonic license and all these other titles they were doing, they too were basically told that, they were going to be on death's door, that they were going to be out the door, they're going to be done, out of business. Well, just like a phoenix rises from the ashes, they rose from those ashes and, basically went on to succeed when people wouldn't think they would. And yes, the Riverdale series helped out, and I watched Riverdale and I have to keep, catch up with it again because I stopped watching after like season 2 or 3. So I got to keep watching. I got to catch up with that again, especially with the series. But anyway, point is Riverdale helped the fortunes turn around. Now, has IDW, ID had the similar kind of fortune? Not really. Some of their titles that they've licensed to become shows or movies haven't been really doing well. The game divisions, board games, whatever, hasn't been doing well. But it doesn't mean that the entire company is on life support. It could just mean that those divisions that I mentioned, the game divisions, the television divisions, they could be the ones that are pretty much financially in dire straits, not the entire, company itself, not the comic book portion of the company. And when you look at the fact that the sales for TMNT, for the various TMNT books, from the main TMNT book to the Saturday morning one, to their Sonic comics, to the main comic, to the various miniseries spin-offs and one-shots and annuals, when you see the positive sale numbers for those, along with some of the other titles that are either licensed or OG titles, you see some of those numbers going up, then that right there should tell you that IDW, ID Comics, is going to be okay for the time being. Doesn't mean it's going to keep them stabilized forever. They got to find something that's going to be like lightning in a bottle that they can carry with them, from that day on to ensure that there's no financial problems hitting them. But what does this have to do with Diamond? Well, apparently Diamond is the main outlet for IDW Comics, ID Comics, if you will. And like I said, they're not listed in the numerous numbers of comic book publishers that Diamond owes, money to. And it could be maybe because financially Diamond can't, both Diamond and ID Comics don't have the money to exchange or something like that. I'm not really sure. But just because Diamond is, in trouble financially doesn't mean it's going to affect ID Comics, IDW Comics in the future. Because they could do what a lot of comic book publishers that Diamond does owe money to have been doing. They can jump to another outlet that gets their comics out into the hands of the public. They could do that. And several others have done it. There's no doubt. Several other independent, semi-major comic book publishers have done this. But the question is, how does Diamond want to try to recollect that money to pay off these debts, so that they can stay afloat for the time being? Well, it's real simple. They're going after comic book shops. They're going after comic book shops, all across the country, if not the world, to try to get money in their pockets from them, get a percentage from them in their pockets to pay, off these debts. But I will say this, I don't think, and I think Kneon may have hinted at this as well, I don't think any of these comic book stores are going to be like, yeah, that ain't happening, Diamond. We're not going to help you get out of your financial funk, if you know what we mean. They're not going to help them. So I think honestly, Diamond, well, you never say never in any kind of business or industry, right? So I think with Diamond, they'll find a way to survive. They will find a way to, essentially survive, stay afloat, but just barely. Just barely. And as far as IDW goes, ID Comics, and whether there's a connection there or not, I think they're going to make the move like others have, and they're going to go to another publisher, another, outlet that's similar, if not better than Diamond, that can get their, get their comics out to the, like I said, out to the hands of the public. So I think IDW Comics, ID Comics, IDW Publishing, ID Publishing are going to basically go jump ship to another outlet similar to Diamond that can get them, get their comics, out to the hands of other people. But also the question is, well, what happens if what people say, is going to happen with ID Comics and IDW Comics? What's going to happen with IDW, ID Comics? Easy for me to say. What happens if the inevitable does occur? Which a lot of people say will. Well, I look at it this way. Ian Flynn wouldn't be publishing stories, crossover events and all that with DC or other places with these characters if the doors were closing. Ian Flynn, whether you like the guy or not, I think would be the first one, being a fan himself at one point, he'd be the first one to come out and let people know that the comic is ending due to financial reasonings at ID Comics. He would let us know that. He is a fan first and foremost. Let's not forget that. So whether you like Ian or not, he would at least be one of the first, if not the first, to let us know. But he has not done that. Neither has Van Stanley. So basically, unless it comes from them that, hey, ID is going to be going out of business and the Sonic comics are going to conclude a lot sooner than they should, unless it comes from them, I think we need to hold off on the doom and gloom when it comes to Sonic, TMNT, and all the other licensed and OG comic book titles at ID Comics, IDW Comics for the time being. Because they are, as I said earlier, some of the more profitable comics that ID Comics, IDW Comics has right now. So the way I look at it, like I said, is I think IDW Publishing will jump ship to another outlet that's similar, if not better than Diamond, and Diamond is going to be left basically, holding the check, if you will, to try to pay off what they owe to stay afloat. That's what I think is going to happen. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. What are your thoughts on this whole Diamond, situation? And when it comes to them wanting comic book shops to pay up to help them pay off their debt, do you think comic book shops will do that? And what are your thoughts on all the debt they owe? And do you think they'll stay afloat, throughout this year into next year, And what do you think also is the future for IDW Comics publishing, if you will? Do you think they will jump ship to another outlet to help them get their comic books out into the hands of customers and fans? Let me know your thoughts on that. And also, basically, do you think they will remain? Do you think basically that they will remain in business for the next several years? Because one thing Kneon did bring up is we won't see the effects now right away, but it will be in time for both outlets, for both IDW, ID Comics, and Diamond. But what do you think? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with him? Or do you think maybe they should just keep that doom and gloom to a very, 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 very low minimum, because the financial success of the comics is what's keeping the publication alive? Let me know. Love to hear your thoughts on it, guys. And until next time, do all the things. Like the video, ring the bell for notifications, subscribe to the channel, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere outside of YouTube. And until next time, guys, I will talk to you later, but give me your thoughts. Love to hear how you feel about it.